You're listening to Her Confidence Her Way podcast, episode 69. Hey ladies, welcome back to the another episode of Her Confidence Her Way podcast. I am your host, Aiko Rasmussen. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for those who are listening to this podcast every week. I really appreciate you taking the time to download and listen. I know you have such a busy life and you could have listened to some other podcasts, but you choose to listen to this. So thank you so much. And for those who found this podcast the very first time, welcome. I am super excited that you found this episode. Please let me know how you found this episode or the podcast. I want to know. I'm trying to find out how you got, what are the keywords that you're searching to find these podcasts. So yes, definitely reach out to me. You can reach me at herconfidenceherway@gmail.com, or I have an Instagram account which is at Aiko Rasmussen. You can DM me. I always respond to people who message me. All right. So today is, as you can tell, it's just me. I feel kind of lonely and alone because I am releasing a conversation that I had with one of the podcasters, which I'm going to tell you later. Basically, I get this question all the time. Hey, Emmy, how did you practice your English? I do. I think I get questions maybe once a week for sure. I get it from followers or someone who just happened to find from somewhere else. Anyway, so, I feel like it's not fair to answer this, I guess, my experience. I don't know. It's kind of weird because I have been living in the US for, I think, 13 years. So, yeah, I mean, well, this is where I live, and 90% of the time I'm using English. Isn't it kind of bad answer? I know, I get it. So next time, this is my promise to you guys. I know since there are a lot of people who are listening to this podcast from Japan as well, I am actually going to ask Miho this question. How do you keep up with English? Because I know Miho, she lives in Japan, and not only living in Japan, but she lives not in Tokyo. She lives in Gifu. So, she always says, 私は田舎に住んでるから。あんまり外国人の人がいない right? So, yeah, I really want to know ね、美穂さんはどうやってあんなに素敵な英語をやってキープアップしてるのでしょうか? I really want to know, so I'll definitely gonna ask. But anyways, so today's podcast is all about this conversation that I had with Aiko. She is an American pronunciation English coach. And she recently had her very own podcast. The podcast is called The Voice of English with Aiko. Well, no, sorry. One more time. Hang on. English podcast, The Voice of English, Aiko with Schwegirl. There you go. That's the official name. So, yes. So she was kind enough to invite me to be on her guest. And let's see, which one was my episode? Well, I was episode 004. So if you are curious about it, you can go and then listen to her podcast, her version of it, or you can just listen from here because I'm going to release it right now. Because I get these questions really all the time. How do you learn English? So, I think it's always good to hear my journey of how I learned English and how I studied. And yeah, I hope this would help you guys. Anyway, so if you have listened to this from Aikos podcast, it's just going to be just a repeat. So no worries. If you're busy, move on. But if not, then sit down and relax and enjoy this conversation with Aiko from Schwegirl. Before we move on to the main topic, Let's hear a quick word from sponsors. This episode is brought to you by you, the listeners. このポッドキャストは Her Confidence Her Way のリスナーさんのサポートから成り立っています。もしもこのエピソードがとっても役に立ち、もっと聞きたいと思った方は、ぜひこのポッドキャストをスポンサーしてください。私のウェブサイト www.herconfidenceherway.com のメニューからポッドキャストをサポートするをクリック。より良いエピソードをお届けするためにも、リスナーさんからの寄付をお待ちしています。This episode is also brought to you by Audible。Audible とはアプリで本を聞くという新しいライフスタイルです。Audible で通勤時間をスキルアップの時間に、英語でコミュニケーションを取るためのリスニング力アップの方法に、自分に興味のある本を忙しいスケジュールの中、家事をしながら、エクササイズをしながら英語で聞くこともできます。今、Audible では30日間無料体験のスペシャルオファーを私のウェブサイトにある Try Audible Free のボタンから無料で登録ができます。What are you waiting for? It's free and you should definitely try it. また、私のウェブサイト www.herconfidenceherway.com からエピソードでお話しした内容、アドバイス、またはエピソードで出てきたリンク、他のサイトもそちらで紹介しています。最後に、Let's connect with me on Instagram。ぜひ、私のインスタから私のプライベートの生活などの写真もチェックしてくださいね。DM、Direct メッセージからいただいたメッセージは必ずお返しします。私のアカウントは @EmikoRasmussen。@EmikoRasmussen。Alright, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. このポッドキャストの購読もお忘れずに。Now, let's get back to the show.Hey guys, it's Aiko with Schwegirl. Welcome to the Voice of English, episode 4. My name is Aiko Hemingway and I'm an American English pronunciation coach based in Hawaii. The purpose of this podcast is to encourage English learners and also English teachers. We all want to share tips and points of how we can improve our English and become better communicators.In episode 4, we have a guest from California. She interviewed me for her podcast 1.5 years ago. That's when I met her for the first time. Since then, we have collaborated a lot. Now she's my business partner. She's really, really good at self-promoting, which is something that Japanese people are not so good at.So let's learn from her how to promote yourself. And also let's hear her stories and learn how to become confident and become successful in the US. And don't forget, she speaks English as a second language. So I will ask her tips to become fluent in English. So please help me welcome Aiko Rasmussen.From Her Confidence Her Way. Hi, Aiko.
Hi, Aiko-san.
Hi, thank you for coming to my show.
No problem. I'm so glad to be part of your show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So I already talked about your introduction, but would you please tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, are you ready to hear who I am? Because it's going to take a long time to explain who I am.
Yes, I'm ready. We're ready.
Okay, all right. So, yeah. So first of all, I'm a mom of 2. I have 2 girls. And also, I'm a wife for my wonderful husband. We've been married with my husband for 11 years. And I got 13 years of working experience here in the U.S.、mainly in higher education industry. I am also a leader of Women at Work, and it's a long process of explaining to you guys who I am. And I'm also a class mom and a room parent, so I'm very active for volunteering at my daughter's school. I am also a board member of San Diego and Yokohama Sister City Society. I am occasionally do a bilingual MC gig for the Japanese community here in San Diego. Finally, I am a blogger, podcaster of Her Confidence Her Way, and a confidence building coach for Japanese working women to discover their gifted talents so that they can view their own value with confidence and help them to take their first step towards what they really want to do without worrying about someone else's opinion. So that's about who I am.
Wow, that is amazing because so you work full time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you take care of your daughters and you do podcasting and confidence building coaching and other stuff. How do you do it?
I know, I get that question all the time. I mess up all the time. There are some times that I get help a lot. So not sometimes, I get help a lot. So I definitely help out for others and not necessarily in return, but they also do the same for me. So that is helpful. And I also I'm so like for example, for cooking, I don't necessarily do like amazing cooking for my kids. It's just my kids are very simple. Even if I spend a long time cooking and making really, really beautiful dish, they're not going to eat it. So they just want like a chicken and rice, or they want cheese quesadillas. They want very simple stuff. So I mean, yeah, there are somewhere that I'm saving some time, just trying to be efficient.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. So would you please tell me why you were doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so basically for my podcast is for Japanese working women, mainly working in US, or Japanese women who are using English and working in a global working environment. And as I was working here in US, there are so many barriers, like culture and language barriers, and I feel like that's very unique to us as an immigrant. And I just I was looking for so many different resources, just searching on Google or looking for community, and I just didn't find anything that fits for me. And my answer was, well, I couldn't find it, so I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to create it for myself, so that way I can be in the same, or I can really spend the time, or I can connect with people who are like-minded.
Right. Wow, I really like that. Like if you don't find something, you just create it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So would you please tell us about how you gained your skills for, coaching and doing podcast?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the simple answer would be by doing. I feel like there are so many times that I really thought about it, and in my heart I've been really wanting to do it, but then, there's always like, oh, what if, I fail, or if someone's going to judge, or I'm not good enough, and, all those negative feelings. So, in order for you to overcome that, I know it's easy to say it, but just by doing. And the important thing to remember is that if you don't do it, you can't even be bitter. So just put it out, things that you really want to do. And the other thing is that you have to be clear on like what you want to do and who you want to serve and who you are. So those are the things that you really have to think about. Like, for example, for my podcast, or my just a mission in general, just the mission of what I do is helping Japanese women, working women, to discover her gifted talent so that they can see their own value and help taking their first steps to do what they really want to do without worrying about someone else's opinion. So it's like really clear of like what I really focus on, the confidence and, helping them to find their gifted talent. So, make sure before you do it, you kind of have to get a good direction. It's the same thing as, if you are trying to go somewhere, you have to know your final destination, and then you get your direction. So it's the same thing.
Wow, that's so cool. Because, like I don't know if it's just the Japanese thing, but Japanese people usually go to school or I need some certification to start something, so I should study and then take a test first. So that's that's the first step that a lot of Japanese people come up with. But you're saying doing is the key.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Because like, let's say, even if you spend a lot of time trying to get a coaching certification or whatever that is, right? In reality, you're not, because you don't have that experience just yet by doing the coaching. So it's just, I wouldn't say wasting your time, but you shouldn't be waiting for it. Hope that makes sense to you. Just by doing it, then you can gain experience. And then if you really want to, like, especially for coaching industry, it's very, there isn't like a rule where you have, in order for you to call as a coach, you have to have a license or whatever. Like, there is no such a rule. So there are so many coaches out there, and there are so many interesting coaches too. So, but then I think it's really important that you actually do it and gain experience and really learn how to serve your client.
Right. That is really encouraging message. So how about, so you speak English as a second language in the US. I want to ask you how you gained your English speaking ability. So would you please tell us how you practiced English?
How do I practice English? That's a good question. To answer your question is to really make sure that you're in the environment of English speaking. What does this mean by is that even if you're living in US, there is always a Japanese community. Or even if you're studying abroad, there's always a Japanese students, like a group of students. So when I was a student, I did not hang out with Japanese students because I knew that if I do it, I know that I'm not going to be able to improve my English conversation skills or English skills in general. So definitely I try to mingle with local students. And that was one thing. And the other thing, in terms of here at work, as a professional, like, business, English business wise, I'm not afraid to ask. So I reach out for help. For example, if I am writing an email to someone who's very important, I ask my coworkers and say, hey, would you mind proofread for me? And then whenever they, fix things, and if I learn something new, then I write it down and I just make sure that next time I don't make the same mistakes. So it's just basically asking for help, and even pronunciation too. Like, if I don't know how to pronounce, then I will ask my coworkers. It's just easy. Like, everybody, they're all native English speakers. Like, hey, how do you pronounce this? Or am I saying it right? Like, I'm not embarrassed to ask those questions. And it's important.
Wow. So you had 3 points. One, you spoke English a lot. So you didn't hang out with Japanese people. So that's like a challenging thing. If you live in California, there are many Japanese people. And of course, it's easy to be with other Japanese people because, Japanese is our first language. So it's easy, really easy, right? So it's really hard to be in an English environment, but you did it. So that's great. So that is, and then the second, you said, you asked for help. So, so that's like, Japanese people are not really good at asking for help, in my opinion. And especially, Emiko is, you said you are extrovert, but I'm really introvert.
True.
So I'm not really good at asking for help. So do you have any recommendation for people who are very shy and hesitate to ask for help?
Let's see. I'm trying to think, because I'm an extroverted, so I don't mind just like talking to people. Do you think if you prepare in advance, like, hey, there are a couple questions that I would like to ask because I know that for introverted people, they like to prepare a lot. Is that true?
Yeah, it would be nice if
So
I get to know the questions or, what's
yeah,
happening in
yeah, or like
advance.
what you want to ask, right? So then maybe if you are at work, for example, then you can set up a meeting with your boss and just to let them know, hey, could I have 30 minutes of your time? And just to prepare of what questions, what are the questions that you want to ask and write it down. And you can also send the question to them in advance. So that way, it's going to be a win-win for that situation where they can prepare it for you and I'm also prepared for myself, right? So then once you go to the meeting, you don't maybe have to explain, what are the things that you're struggling because you already sent that information. And then maybe just it goes smoother. I don't know. Like I said, I'm the other side, but based on what I'm learning from introverted people, I know that they like to prepare for questions and stuff. So that may help.
Yes,
But for
yes.
me, I don't mind just like walking up to people and say, "Hey, can I get your help?" That's not a problem for
Yeah,
me
isn't
either.
it like a
Yeah.
pretty rare as a Japanese person? Because, like we Japanese are usually like shy and we don't really speak up or like,
Mm,
mm, yeah, well, because
yeah.
I was having a hard time. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, I had to do it.
Right, right. So, yeah, so in your situation, you put yourself in a situation where you had to do it.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
didn't have a time to be shy. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to
wow.
keep up with people.
Right. Well, how was your English level when you came to the States?
hmm So when I came here, I was a student. And in order for me to get admitted to this university, I have to have, I think it was 550 for TOEFL score. And I did not have that score. Everyone was telling me like, oh, you're gonna be fine, I mean, you're really good with English, blah blah blah. So that really pressured me a lot. So when I took a test and I only had like 437 or 473, whichever that number was. So definitely, grammar wasn't really my strength. However, I quickly learned that, grammar isn't that important. And it's more like the pronunciation and being able to communicate. So that quickly became my focus of how I can improve. So I'm going to say that I was just average. However, I was able to go to English school. It's called ECC in Japan. So those who are living in Japan, you guys know what ECC is. But I was a student since I was in fourth grade on elementary. So I did get introduced English at early stage.
So at ACC, you had a chance to talk to native speakers of English?
hmm Yeah. I'm gonna say it wasn't the very first few years. I feel like it was a Japanese English teachers, and their focus was more towards grammar. I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't remember. It's been for a while, but I do remember everything was all English. There's no Japanese at all. We weren't
Wow.
allowed to speak Japanese. And we had a nickname. So like everybody will have their own nickname. So I started with Emily because I didn't know what kind of English names were available. So my teacher said, how about Emily since you're Emiko? I'm like, oh sure, I'll take Emily. And then I had Judy and what else? I had Tina. I don't know why, but I had a lot of different nicknames.
Wow. Wow, that's really amazing. When I was in Japan, I didn't really have a chance to talk to native speakers. So,
hmm
that's great that you had the experience from since you said the fourth grade, fifth grade,
Fourth grade. Yeah,
fourth
fourth
grade.
grade.
So you were 10 or 9 years old.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's very good. I see that a lot of Japanese people in Japan nowadays try to educate their kids from learning English from the early age. So definitely listeners can see how their kids are gonna be listening to you, right?
Yeah, I think it's important. I wouldn't say important, but it's very beneficial if you learn English when you're little with the accent wise. I think it's, I don't know, I'm not an expert, so maybe you can talk more about it, but I feel like people who studied English when they're early age, they have less accent. Would you agree, or
Yeah, I
just
totally
to me?
agree. I mean, I can talk about it
Yeah.
forever, so I'm just gonna make it like a short story. But in linguistics, basically, you lose the ability to be able to distinguish L and R at the age of 11.
Oh, okay.
So if you are exposed to English before the age of 11, you are able to distinguish LNR. But if you miss that point, like me, I came to the US after when I was 23, so I was well past the point. So I'm really having a hard time distinguishing the LNR. Now I can, but still I'm not able to distinguish them like native speakers can. So I usually recommend to people to learn the English before 11 years old. That's how, yeah, that's when you, how can I say it? If you learn it before the age of 11, then you have less of an accent also.
I see.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's very fortunate that you were able to start learning English at
Yeah, but
9
I
and
think
10.
that when I was in high school student, or even not junior high, high school, I was in a reading class, and I do remember that I was purposely reading English book like a Japanese accent way because I was so embarrassed to pronounce it in the right way.
Oh, wow. I've heard that like some people who speak English natively or like you, who are able to speak English fluently, they get picked on if they speak it in the real way at school. Is that right?
I don't know why I did that, but I do remember me and there's another guy who used to go to ECC together. We weren't really friends or anything, and it was just so funny. It like I know how well he can speak, but he wasn't reading it in the like a American way, or I don't know how to say it, but like instead of saying thank you, I would say like we would say like thank you. I don't know why.
Oh, I see. So but you don't know why.
I don't remember. I think I just didn't want to get like a spotlight, or I didn't want people to think like, oh, like I don't know. It's just weird, but that's how I was.
Well, that's like reflecting. That's like a reflection of like Japanese culture, right? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe try not to stand out, because if
Yeah.
you stand out, then what is the saying? The nails that is standing out get hammered down, or something like that. It's the same thing that I maybe wanted to blend with others.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that experience like being in the US? It's like it's okay to stand out, or like it's more
Definitely.
beneficial, yeah, to be standing out. So coming from there and then coming to the US, what is the mindset difference that you have now?
Oh. I definitely have to say, like, it's okay to be who I am, and it's okay to be different. That's definitely the mindset shift that I had, and just be proud of who you are. Because, like I said, as an immigrant here, I stand out in so many different ways, and um, there are times that I was very ashamed of the way how I spoke. But later on, I just quickly learned that I can't be the native speakers I'm not American, and it's okay to really show who I am. So I think that's the shift, mind shift. You don't have to hide your identity.
Right, that's great. So, would you please share some of your struggles in the US, language-wise or culture-wise?
I guess language and culture really connect. So there are things that people were saying, and I understood what people were saying, but I didn't really understand like the real meaning, because some people say things and it doesn't mean the word that they're saying, and the meaning is completely different. I don't know. I can't think of any good example right now, but people say things like, "Oh, you're," I don't know, like negative Nancy. Don't be a negative Nancy, or don't be a Debbie Downer, or something like that. Like it's pretty much you're saying negative Nancy, like don't be don't be negative, or don't complain about something. But it's like the culture is behind it that you have to also understand, not just the words that they're saying, but the real meaning of it. And I hope that makes sense. I don't. I can't think of any other good example right now.
Yeah, it's like sarcasm or
Yeah,
like
that's true.
sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
in Japanese we don't really have sarcastic comments. I
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like,
think.
oh, that was really funny. Like it wasn't really funny, but people would say, oh, that was really funny. It's just the way how they say it, not the actual word.
Right.
So I think those are a really, really hard one for me to understand. And also, people talk about um, things that they used to do and they feel like nostalgic or whatever that is. I didn't grow up in that culture, so I cannot relate. So it's really important for me to say, hey, you know what does that mean to you? Like, 'cause I didn't grow up here in the US. Can you tell me? So, I had to ask, so that way I can really understand. And it's okay to ask questions, because we were already talking about it. And of course, they would love to share more about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, when I went to Disneyland, and that's a few years ago, but at California Adventure, now they don't have it, but they used to have Aladdin Theater. And then Genie is a funny guy. So I guess what is very famous for that show is Genie's jokes. And some of the things was really funny, and I thought it was funny. And they're talking about Kim Kardashian and all that stuff. And I think you have to know the culture, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So I guess if it's something like a pop culture related, I could understand, but I don't understand 100%. And I actually made a really horrible mistakes where that was when I was a student. People were in the group talking and we're laughing, and I was just trying to copy what other people were doing. So I was laughing, and then this person made a comment, and then it was supposed to be a joke to this other person, and everybody laughed, so I laughed, but the joke wasn't really funny. Supposedly, I didn't know, and then later on, I asked what did that mean, and if I knew the true meaning of it, I wouldn't be laughing. Like, that would be just not okay to say things like that. But then because I didn't know, so I laughed, and so I quickly learned, like, oh, if I don't understand it, I shouldn't be just following what other people are doing. It can be very dangerous. So
Yeah. Well, that's like we Japanese always do it, like follow other people's. So that's a good example that you just mentioned. How about like you speak really fluent English. How about now? Do you
thank
still
you.
have some struggle
Oh yeah,
moments?
all the time, especially now. Oh my gosh!
Really?
So I have two kids. Yeah, I have two
Oh,
kids, right?
yeah.
And the older one is 8. So I do reading time, like a bedtime story. So I'm reading, and if I pronounce it not right, and she'll correct me. Or I'm reading something, and it's a story, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know how to read it. I just fake it sometimes, and then sometimes she doesn't understand, or it's like a name. We don't know what the true name is, so like I will just kind of like pronounce it the way how it's writing. But sometimes she can catch it that I wasn't reading it right.
Wow.
So yeah, I learned from my daughter, 8-year-old.
Yeah, because we Japanese come to the US and the kids are like born and raised in here, so their English is of course native. So I hear
Yeah.
like a lot of Japanese moms having a hard time because of their kids because they're constantly telling them their pronunciation and stuff.
Pronunciation or the spelling, like mommy. Oh, well, she asked me question in Japanese. So, like for example, I don't know, like kidding ってどうやって spell するの? Right? So then I'm like giraffe. I don't know how to say. So I have to go back and then Google it. Or like, mommy favorite ってどうやって書くの? ってなんか I think I forget favorite the last e. So like she'll type in like, no, I don't think it's right. I'm like, oh shoot, let me see. Going back to Google because I have been using computer and whenever I have a misspelling, it fixes for me. So I sometimes don't pay attention to the correct spelling. So when kids ask me, I'm like, hold on, let me just Google it really quickly and make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. Or like we have Echo or Alexa. It's the machine. Do you know what that is?
No,
It's like
I
an
do
Amazon
not.
product. So it's very similar to Siri. So if you ask Siri, like they'll answer questions. So it's the same thing. We have this thing called Alexa, and well, I don't know. Ask Alexa, and then Alexa, how do you spell blah blah blah? And then the machine will tell you. Yeah, favorite is spelled blah 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 blah. So I'm still struggling, but I'm learning every day.
Wow. I like your how can I say attitude towards like learning every day from
Oh
any
yeah.
level. Like people listen to you like you're fluent English and they're amazed, but you're still learning and you're still saying that you learn it every day. So that is like a really amazing point.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, this is like really encouraging listeners for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about would you please share some of your mistakes in the process of learning English in the US or in Japan?
Mistakes of learning.
Yeah, mistakes or should we say like a lesson learned?
Lesson learned. Oh my goodness, I feel like I have a lot. Hmm, which one is a good one? I do have a lot.
I do have a
But yeah,
lot too.
definitely. Don't pretend like you understood. I think it's important. And also, I think coming from the Japanese English education, I think we focused a lot on grammar. But in reality, when you come here, I mean, even native speakers, their grammar isn't. Sometimes maybe Japanese people are better with grammars. I don't know
I agree
what your
actually.
experience. Okay. Yeah, and then there are a lot of people here in US too that they cannot spell, they cannot um, write properly. So, don't get caught like, I guess I don't want to say don't focus too much on grammars or anything, but I think like communication skill is so much important and then having the right mindset is important. So I'm gonna say that I focused for the wrong I don't want to say wrong thing, but I focused on something else, although I should be focusing on like a good having a good mindset or having good attitude, having good communication skills and all that stuff. So yeah, that should cover like all of my my mistakes.
I see. Thank you very much. Yes, so I do agree that Japanese are actually pretty good at English grammar, but when it comes to speaking, we struggle because we haven't really been practicing speaking. So yeah, so having the right mindset is like totally like it's really really important. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then also just don't be afraid to be wrong or I mean, sometimes I hear some horrible things. I mean, I think this is like such a typical thing. Like, oh, what do you like to eat? Oh, I like to eat rice. instead of saying rice. Like, it's a difficult one. However, so it shows how much pronunciation is important, because I don't want to say this on that sort of podcast, but yeah, there are some horrible stories about the person didn't pronounce L and R right, and it turned into a different meaning, and it can be embarrassing too. So, yeah.
Yes. So I've experienced that a lot in the US. So
I do remember
so
your story,
definitely.
which I shared with my podcast. I think it was about the sheet.
Yes,
right?
sheet. Yeah, so the vowel was too short. So instead of saying sheet, it became
You said something
really
beep.
Yes, I wasn't supposed to say it. I was at the elementary school, and there were a bunch of teachers in the teachers' room, and I said it really loud. So the teacher that I was working for said, "Hey, shut up." And I didn't know what was going on. So, I'm pretty sure like a lot of people experience that moment in the US and learn like little by little. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, totally. How about culture-wise? Like, what was your biggest culture shock that you've ever had in the US or working with Americans?
Let's see. American people, I don't know if I should say American people, but people here in US who are working, they are very good with promoting themselves.
Yes,
so
totally.
with that said, whenever there's a interview for promotion and stuff, people are pretty aggressive to me from my lens of my eyes, but in really that's how it is. So I don't know, just what's the once again there's another saying, you're supposed to say like, oh, no, I'm not that great, or とんでもないです or something like that, but here in the US you shouldn't be saying that. You cannot say that. So yeah, I have learned that quickly. And also I'm pretty sure this is something that people will continuously say it, but 空気を読む is not in the culture here. So if you are agreeing with something, you have to say, yes, I agree. That's another one. I mean, there are so many things. Like, we can't be too reserved. I mean, there are a lot of things. It's almost opposite American culture and Japanese culture. However, there are a lot of beauty in the Japanese culture too, where I can come in and create a very peaceful environment. So I'm not saying Japanese culture is bad. You just have to know how to use your Japanese cultural value and how you have to adjust and adapt easily as well.
Right. Wow. So there are so many points here. So so you're working as a manager at your company, right?
Well, yeah, I was, and now I'm an individual contributor now. So, but yeah, I was leading my team for 6 years.
Yes. So your team members wanted to get promotion, so they go to you and promote themselves.
So basically, what happens, and I don't want to speak too loudly because I'm pretty sure each company has a different way. But whenever we have an open position, like let's say we have open up a new position, then we would kind of like make an announcement for it, and from there, we have an interview process. So one of the things that I tell my team member is that every day is an interview. So whenever the position opens, and if you try to prepare for it, then you're too late, because we're watching them every day. So take initiatives and tell the managers that where you want to be. Because if no one is telling me that they want to be a manager, I can't help. I don't know if you want to be a leader of the team, or I don't know. So it's very important that you have to speak up, and tell them that hey, I need a mentorship. I want to be where you are at. How can I get there? So you can't just work hard. right now there is a saying that, it used to say like it is all about what you know, and that's not right anymore, or that's too old anymore. And then there is another saying, it is all about who you know, and that's also old. And now it is about what is it? What who knows what you do? And I hope that makes sense to you. So you have to show you how you have been doing. You can't just hide and work hard because then no one will notice. So somewhat you have to self-promote and show, look at me, here are the things that I have been doing and all that.
I see. Well, I know the phrase, it's important who to know. But I didn't know what was that? Who you know?
Who knows what you do?
Oh, okay. So who knows what you do? So you basically know the right kind of person, and that person knows what you do.
Yeah. Let's say like if you want to be a manager for financial team, for example, and then you can work hard, right? But then if the financial team's manager, if he or she doesn't know about your work, then your work is nothing. So somehow you have to connect with her and show her or him about your work. So that's how you get promoted, or that's how you do networking and all that stuff. It's not about who you know anymore, unfortunately.
Wow. Wow, I see. That's a huge tip for listeners. So we Japanese people tend to wait until the chance comes, but listening to you sounds more like how you have to take the initiative to work toward your goal. Actually, you have to be what's the word? Not aggressive, but actively look for the opportunity. Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you. So actually, Emiko and I are coaching a business course for teachers and coaches. So Emiko, would you please talk a little bit about the course?
Yes, this course is an online course for teachers and coaches, and those people who want to start their own coaching or teaching business. And we literally have this like a community where everybody is really open and helping each other. And I guess our main focus is not only show students the how to, but also collaborate with them and helping each other. That's the biggest thing. I feel like whenever people start their own business, it's very lonely and you want to ask questions, but then not very many people are doing these online business. So that's where we come in, and where we can understand the students' pain. Our title of this course is called ほぼ0円で始めるビジネス. So we are not pushing them to buy this or do this. It's more like, do with what you have and then scale out from there.
Yes. So as you mentioned here, collaboration is really important, right? That's how we create a win-win situation. So this is how Emiko and I started the business. And I was on your show before. And that's how I got a lot of, how can I say, many people contacted me after I was on your show. So that was great. And then I mentioned Emiko on my blog, and I occasionally talk about it on my newsletters. So my followers got to know Emiko also. So now we're doing a business course together. That's another collaboration. And I really like it because Emiko is really good at, you're good at many things that I'm not so good at.
Oh my gosh, and that's the same thing, that you're really good at things that I'm not good at. So that's perfect.
Yeah, so we cover each other's weakness by our strengths, right? So I think it's working just perfectly. So, we highly recommend our clients in the group to collaborate a lot and exchange ideas, because if you just look at one thing from your perspective, you may not notice some other things. So it's really good to have some other people and tell you, hey, you can do this, stuff like that. So I think it's working really perfectly.
Yeah. And then being in those group, it helps as well. It's like, oh, shoot, I said it, so I better do it. Because if you are just buying a course, like let's say DIY, like do it yourself online course, you pretty much by yourself. And I think the other important thing that we should mention is that this course is all be done in Japanese as well.
Right, yes. But we're doing like American marketing now.
Right.
Yes. So Emiko and I learned business in English. And then it's so funny. We wrote the outline all in English and then translated into Japanese. So, if you're in Japan or not in the US, you can still learn marketing in Japanese, but like American way.
Right.
Yes. So Emiko, so how and then where can we find you if listeners want to connect with you?
Yep. So my podcast is called Her Confidence, Her Way podcast. So that's something that you can look up through Apple Podcast product. And then my website is at www.bilingualworkingmom.com. All of my social media handle is Emiko Rasmussen, EMIKORASMUSSEN. I can't talk. And I'm very active in Instagram lately and a Facebook group.
So if you are listening to this episode and want to connect with Emiko, all the links are provided on my website also.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And anything you'd like to talk about?
For me, as a confidence building coach, it's very important for you to focus on what you're great at. Like, what we are talking about, we use our strengths rather than weakness. So I think we tend to forget about it. So make sure you know what you're good at. And then if you are not good at something, then you work with other people. And that's how to make your life easily. And, that's how you're really building your confidence. If you don't believe yourself, then no one will.
Right. Wow. That is a really good positive message for the listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.
So that was the conversation with Emiko. She is so powerful and confident, yet humble, right? If you are interested in building your own teaching or coaching business, come join our free workshop on July 13th, 2018 at 5 p.m. PST, so that's West Coast time. In Hawaii time, it's 2 p.m. In Japan time, July 14th at 9 a.m. Emiko is an expert to find people's gifted talent, and we will help you find yours at this free workshop. The registration link is provided on my website, www.schwegirl.com, SCHWAGIRL.com. Emiko's social media links are also provided on my website, and check out her podcast, Her Confidence, Her Way. If you have any questions about English learning or pronunciation or living in the US or working in the US, or if you'd like to be a guest on my show, please contact me through my website, www.schwegirl.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this show. You can go to iTunes and find this show, The Voice of English. If you use your smartphone, you can download the app called Podcasts and search The Voice of English. So this is the end of episode 4. Thank you very much for listening. And in episode 5, we have a guest from New York. So see you guys in the next episode. Bye!